The ancient Kemetic civilization versus Egypt. The ancient Kemetic civilization, often referred to as ancient Kemet, flourished along the banks of the Nile River for thousands of years. This civilization left behind an abundance of historical, archaeological, and anthropological evidence that supports the assertion of their African origin. By analyzing various aspects, such as physical characteristics, cultural practices, linguistic connections, and geographic location, it becomes evident that the ancient Kemetic people were rooted in Africa. Phenotypes. Physical characteristics provide valuable insights into the origins of ancient populations. Studies conducted on ancient Egyptian mummies and artistic representations consistently depict individuals with dark skin tones, broad noses, and textured hair. These physical traits align closely with populations from sub-Saharan Africa, indicating a shared ancestry between the ancient Kemetic people and other African communities. The portrayal of these physical features in ancient Egyptian art, such as the famous sculptures and wall paintings, further reinforces the African heritage of the ancient Kemetic civilization. Cultural practices. Cultural practices offer another compelling line of evidence. The religious beliefs and rituals of ancient Egypt reveal striking similarities to indigenous African belief systems. The ancient Kemetic religion featured a pantheon of deities associated with natural elements, animal symbolism, and ancestor worship. These concepts resonate with traditional African religions, where reverence for nature, animal spirits, and ancestral connections are integral. Additionally, burial customs such as mummification and the belief in an afterlife demonstrate parallels with other African cultures, reinforcing the cultural continuity across the African continent. Linguistic connections. The linguistic connections between ancient Egyptian and African languages provide further support for their African origin. Scholars have identified linguistic similarities between ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics and several African languages, including Nubian and Berber. Shared vocabulary, grammatical structures, and phonetic correspondences indicate significant contact and influence between ancient Egyptian and neighboring African languages. These linguistic connections suggest a historical and cultural exchange between the ancient Kemetic civilization and other African societies. Geographic location. Considering the geographic location of ancient Egypt is crucial when discussing its African origin. Egypt is situated in the northeastern corner of Africa, bordered by the Mediterranean Sea to the north and deserts to the east and west. This positioning firmly places ancient Egypt within the African continent, emphasizing its African identity and its interactions with neighboring African cultures. The Nile River, a lifeline for ancient Egyptian civilization, served as a vital conduit for trade, cultural exchange, and migration with other African regions. Ancient Egypt's geographical proximity to Nubia, present-day Sudan, a region with a rich African heritage, further highlights the African connections of the Kemetic people. In conclusion, a comprehensive examination of the physical characteristics, cultural practices, linguistic connections, and geographic location of the ancient Kemetic civilization provides compelling evidence of their African origin. The presence of African physical traits, shared cultural practices with indigenous African belief systems, linguistic parallels with African languages, and Egypt's location within the African continent collectively support the assertion that the ancient Kemetic people were an African civilization. Acknowledging and celebrating the African heritage of ancient Egypt contributes to a more accurate understanding of African history and the interconnectedness of ancient civilizations within the continent.